Heaven is a real place that you should not want to miss. It's a place you can feel God's love to fullest potential. There is no more tears in heaven, no more sorrows, only eternal joy and peace. Forever and ever you can see the face of God through the Holy Son, Jesus Christ. In Matthew 18:3 says, Jesus invited a little child to stand among them. Truly I tell you, he said, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. If you really want to enter heaven, you have to sacrifice a lot of things in this world for Jesus Christ. You have to completely separate yourself from this world and step into the narrow road to heaven. Let us learn about few places in heaven. I hope by watching this you will have the interest to aim for the kingdom of heaven.
There was a stairway stretching upwards, and at the top of the stairway was an enormous shining door of gold. In front of that door were angels waiting to open it. At the bottom of the stairway were platforms on either side. On the platforms stood handsome and beautiful angels holding large trumpets and waiting to blow them. On either side of the stairway stood angels dressed formally and holding small trumpets. The outfits of the angels were iridescent and shined brightly. The Holy Son explained that the outfits were iridescent in order to show the promise of the second coming, as a sign. As I ascended the stairway, it shined so brilliantly that I could not open my eyes. Such a mystical and wonderful sight made me nervous and excited. I arrived at heaven, and there was a crimson wall in front of me. Behind that wall was a beautiful castle in the distance. The wall was not flat and looked bumpy. It was extremely large and made me wonder what it was. Upon going closer, I saw that it was not a wall but flowers. There were mostly red flowers with flowers of various colors here and there. There were even flowers the size of a house. It was a wonderful and magical sight that could not be explained with words. The scent of flowers riding on the warm winds of heaven was so pleasant. The Lord told me that in heaven there were flowers of unimaginable sizes and diverse colors that could not be seen on earth. I saw a very grand and three-dimensional castle. It was a castle of harmony with white, gold, and jade green jewels. The size of the castle was extremely large. From a bird's eye view, it was shaped like an eagle spreading its wings. The Lord said, "This castle is very special. Heaven is made up of gold, diamonds, and all kinds of heavenly jewels. Each individual's house is built specially for them based on their preferences. There is a building the size of the earth made entirely from diamonds. And there is an enormous jewel mountain that is even larger than Mount Everest. There are countless jewel roads, lined with hundreds of different jewels. The houses are built quite a distance from each other so that it takes quite some time to travel from one to another. Therefore, the typical feeling of heaven can be described as majestic. In heaven, most angels work as ministers, spirits that transformed into spirits of bride, raptured, and went to heaven after living with bodies on the earth as brides. They live lives related to love. As completed spirits, They live glorious and free lives at their own place while serving the Almighty Holy Son as the bridegroom and loving Him. Just as a completed car travels around freely, a life of a spirit that is completed as a bride is different. Even when they go to heaven, the brides must do the work of life of love. When the word work is mentioned, people think of labor that is done on earth. But it is not that kind of work. The work of the spirits that became bride spirits, raptured, and went to heaven is work related to love. They beautify themselves because of love, eat because of love, talk because of love, ride around in carriages because of love, and go sightseeing because of love. In heaven, the only counterparts of love are God, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Son. God, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Son, who are absolute deities, created human beings and heaven and earth and nature so that bodies of human beings would make their spirits while they live in the world of the body, in order for their spirits to come and live in the eternal world. The Holy Trinity created human beings so that human beings' bodies would believe in and love the Trinity, live righteously obeying their word, transform their spirits into spirits of heaven, and come to heaven. If a person lives belonging to the heavens, that person will live with joy because her spirit will go on forever. Like choosing the most beautiful and handsome person on the earth and living with them your entire lifetime. You will live in heaven forever with that kind of hope and joy. Joy of heaven cannot be expressed with words or parables of this world. Saying that a poor person won a lottery would be an inadequate parable. Saying that an insignificant boy in a remote village grew up, became a king, and enjoyed all the fame and fortune, honor and love also is not an appropriate parable for heaven's joy and its eternal nature. Because the spirit is fundamentally different from the body, it feels hundreds of millions of times differently than the body. At best, the body dies without even being able to travel to all the places on earth in its lifetime. The spirit can travel to the entire universe and the entire heavens in just 1 week. Calculations about the spirit cannot be made with mathematics of the world. That is why even when the most extreme parable, examples of the world is used to talk about the spirit and heaven, it is like using a spring as a parable for the ocean. In heaven there are individual homes. Each person has a house according to their merits in the world. So people don't live in other people's homes. Even people who were spouses or children and parents while in the world don't live in the same house in heaven. There are houses built for each person according to their merits while living in the world. Each person lives in those homes and live 100% comfortably without being limited. People live in individual homes while visiting each other. In heaven, the houses are separated comfortably. There is plenty of space. People live individual lives serving the Holy Son, as their bridegroom, and also the brides who love the Holy Son live connecting with each other. When eating in heaven, Sometimes you cook at home and sometimes you are invited and cook and eat together. In heaven there are many official parties and gatherings, and many days you will eat at those functions. In heaven everyone is busy because each person has work they are in charge of. People have their personal time and official time. God absolutely take action. He also created heaven by taking action. He made heaven in the way He made the earth. On the earth that He made, people build their houses and environment according to their deeds and live there. In the same way their bodies acted before the Holy Trinity, their spirits form, and the place their spirits will live in heaven gets constructed for them to live in forever. God creates heaven. Then the houses in heaven are constructed according to the deeds of each person's body. Even if you lived 100 years of a human life, making the entire world your own and enjoying it throughout your life in the world, it is less than the joy you will have as you enjoy heaven for one day. The joy of heaven is that tremendous. What you enjoy for 10 minutes in heaven is like enjoying it for 400 years in the earthly world. Also, heaven is a world of pure gold and gemstones that you cannot find in the earthly world. Also, it is not the body enjoying it, but it is the spirit. So it is not comparable at all with the body enjoying it in the world. The spirit travels faster than light, so it goes to many more places than the body would travel to if it were to live 1 trillion years on the earth. Even if a person is saved to go to the side of heaven, each spirit goes being separated into tens of thousands of tiers according to the formation of their spiritual body. Therefore, unless you are saved at the highest level, God will not treat you at that level. You have to make your spirit and soul to the highest level. Then you will become the Trinity's counterpart of love and be able to live at the highest level heaven. The spirits of those who have fulfilled the Creator's purpose of creation will live in the highest level heaven. Heaven, that God governs, has thousands of levels and tens of thousands of levels. In other words, just because it is heaven, it does not mean that it is all the same. In heaven, there is the highest level heaven. This is the top level heaven where the spirits that have transformed into brides go to at the advent of the Holy Son at the time of the complete testament. At that place, only the spirits that became brides of heaven within the complete testament history and that raptured into the Trinity's counterparts of love will live. It is a world in which all things are adorned with gemstones and treasures. Apart from the highest level heaven, the other domains of heaven are adorned with treasures, but only in part. Heaven is not busy and does not get crowded. Even though there are countless heavenly beings, each of them is in their rightful place because there is order there. However, no matter where you go, there is no place that is lonely. Places where spirits live and places for nature are completely differentiated. Heaven is heaven because people feel limitlessly according to their levels. You must go to heaven after raising your spirit's level to the highest level and after rapturing at the top grade. Then you will feel God, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Son's love 100% and feel heaven's life 100%. Your spirit's constitution type must become completely transformed into heaven's constitution type through your body. Then you will go to heaven. There are the spiritual world of the good, paradise, and heaven. Heaven is the world of perfection. Those who have lived regretful lives, hence they have not been perfected, cannot go to heaven. Only those who have lived and acted perfectly, satisfyingly, and fully go to heaven. In heaven, there is heavenly army, the troops of heaven, and there are all kinds of weapons that the soldiers use. They are for destroying Satans and devils. The heavenly troops are necessary for heaven. These soldiers are also used in helping the believers of God and the Lord and saving lives on earth. When God and the Lord command, the heavenly troops go and fight against Satan's armies. When they fight, the heavenly army always wins. The heavenly troops went to a training ground. In contrast to the disorder of the Satans in hell, they moved in line and in perfect order. I was in awe of how the men and women of the heavenly army stretched out their hands and feet with purpose. They wore white uniforms and their shoulders were decorated with shining diamonds. The troops who were dressed in splendid uniform looked so beautiful and handsome. I was open-mouthed in awe looking upon this sight. Every time the heavenly troops moved, they shined in a different way. I said to the Holy Son, "Lord, they shine with every movement. It's wonderful. Why do they shine like that?" The Holy Son replied,
Satans hate light. They like dark places. The moment they lay eyes upon the bright light of heaven, they die. The heavenly troops are beings that God, the Holy Spirit, and I have personally trained and are absolutely necessary. The heavenly army is marvelous and must exist in heaven.